It's not just stopping at one belt now. There's all these other belts. Champion of the world, unified, undisputed.
Daniel Dubois.
I'm just on a roll. I feel like, I'll be just too much for him, too strong, too fast. Everything he does, I'm going to do better.
Dubois is full of confidence. The things that he's been saying and what he's been doing outside of the ring, jumping into the ring, calling out Usyk.
He might be looking too far ahead.
Is he really focused on this fight that's in front of him?
A rejuvenated, it's a rebirth of
Joseph Parker
Just showed and reminded everybody of his class.
2 huge wins.
I feel like I'm hitting my prime now.
How does this Joseph Parker compare to the Parker that fought AJ?
The one that fought AJ was like a 25%.
Wow.
When the fight time comes, I've done everything right.
Did you fight Tyson?
I think I spoke to Tyson. I said,
hello, welcome back to First Round TV. I'm dazzling Darren Barker, former IBF world champion, and this episode I'm buzzing. I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm honoured to have former world champion Joseph Parker with me. Joe, how are you, mate?
good.
You good?
Yeah, very good.
I was a little surprised when you agreed to do this. I thought, what a legend. Like, got arguably the biggest fight of your career. I mean, every single fight that you've had recently has been your biggest fight. But you'd have to say the fight that you've got coming up, Feb 22nd, fighting Daniel Dubois. I would say, I'm not just saying this because you sat next to me, one of the nicest guys in boxing.
Yeah.
I would say you are, though. And the reasons for that is you're just a proper family man, aren't you?
Obviously, we got to know each other a bit more doing the things in Saudi. But I am a family man. I love being a family man. I love what I do every day. You know what? I feel like with this big fight that I have coming up with Dubois, I've had a great career and I've enjoyed it, but I feel like I enjoy it way more now. Like my passion and excitement for boxing and my love for it has grown in the last year and a half, 2 years.
We'll get onto that, but do you think the reason why you're buzzing so much now is because of how exciting boxing is at the minute?
Bro, boxing is, look at all the big fights that are happening. Like the card that I'm on.
The greatest.
All those fights.
The greatest card.
I feel like it's the greatest card, and probably biased because I'm on the card as well.
It is. Trust me, it is.
But I do feel like boxing now we're seeing all these mega fights happen, and fights that we probably didn't think were going to happen.
Daniel Dubois, you're back fighting.
Triple
D. You're back fighting for, I guess money now is secure for you. You're in a great position financially. This is about recapturing the world title, being a 2-time world champion.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It does.
The IBF belt, and you just told me just off camera beforehand, you was asked by George and Andy what title you wanted to go for.
Yeah.
How long ago was this?
Last year we want to go for the IBF.
You want to go for the IBF?
Like,
and that wasn't knowing...
That was not, like, a lot of things had to happen to fight for the IBF Championship of the World. And at that time, like, I was thinking to myself, how do we even get there? But we chose, like, myself, George, Lockhart, and it just said IBF. And now, here we are now.
Crazy. What, about 7 weeks, I think? Something like that from the fight?
7 weeks from the fight.
How has preparation been? How are you feeling towards this fight with Daniel Dubois?
To be honest, I feel confident going into this fight because we've put in 3 weeks of great work. We still have 6 or 7 weeks before the fight, but I know that when the fight time comes, I've done everything right. I'm doing everything right now. Dubois is full of confidence. Like, he is, the things that he's been saying and what he's been doing outside of the ring, jumping into the ring, calling out Usyk. Then I think to myself, is he really focused on this fight that's in front of him, or is he sort of split? Is he thinking about what's ahead? I know he'll train hard, but your mind, physically you can be in great shape, but also mentality is very important going into each fight.
Have you been impressed with Daniel Dubois? The way he's come back after the Joyce and Usyk defeats? They were questionable, weren't they? The way they finished. Comes back, fights Miller. You've been impressed?
Very impressed. Like the Miller fight, he showed, I mentioned it, grit. Like, there were times in that fight was going back and forth, and he could have, he could have backpedaled and stayed, not fighting, but he was able to come through that. Hergovich took a lot of right hands, but he persevered through all those. Yeah. It was a tough fight, and then the Joshua fight just sort of in front of 90, how many thousand people in the stadium and people watching all around the world. What a statement.
But Daniel Dubois is fighting a prime Joseph Parker, would you say?
Yeah, prime. Like if Daniel Dubois beats me, I'm like, yeah, you're a great fighter.
How does this Joseph Parker compare to the Parker that fought AJ?
I'm like, the one that fought AJ was like a 25% Parker.
In comparison?
In comparison.
Wow.
Like mentally, physically, defensive. I wish I could be that, like the fighter I am now. I wish I could be that fighter back then. But I'm happy I'm the fighter. This fighter now.
How does it feel to be the underdog going into this fight?
Always the underdog. I think it's a good feeling because a lot of people overlook. A lot of people try and set up big fights. And I know they want to have, I know they're talking about Usyk and Dubois too. They always try to set up big fights. But you have to wait for this fight to happen first.
And look, I know you're not looking past Daniel Dubois, but you mentioned there his aspirations moving forward. What are your aspirations as a heavyweight now to go and beat Daniel Dubois and
champion of the world,
then
unified champion of, like, it's not just stopping at one belt now.
Right.
There's all these other belts. You know, champion of the world, unified, undisputed.
It's a legacy. You want to go down as New Zealand's greatest ever fighter?
New Zealand's greatest ever fighter, Samoa's greatest ever fighter. Actually, Jaya Patai's come from Samoa, so we're both on the world stage at the moment. You know, he's unexceptional.
If you win against Daniel Dubois, would you say you are Samoa and New Zealand's greatest ever fighter?
I'll say New
I know
Zealand.
you're very modest, but
Honestly, I'll say New Zealand, but Jaya Patai would be someone who's, you know, he lost the belt, he won it back, got the Ring Magazine belt, and he's looking to unify as well. So that's the Samoan part. Like him and I are both representing Samoa at the top stage, but in New Zealand it would be best in New Zealand.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, eh?
You know what I mean?
Woo, the best fighter to come out of New Zealand, and then who's next? Victor Base, but we'll see.
Right, we're going to go right back here. So, born New Zealand, South Auckland, right?
Born in New Zealand, grew up in South Auckland, Samoan heritage.
Yeah.
Both parents were from Samoa, but I was born in New Zealand and had a fantastic upbringing.
They were, both your parents were born in Samoa?
Both my parents were born in Samoa.
How was childhood? What was it like in South Auckland?
You know, South Auckland is one of those places where you don't really... It's a tough upbringing, and there's a lot of fights around the place. There's a lot of poverty, but I feel like my upbringing was perfect. 2 loving parents took me to church on Sundays, supported my boxing and sports during school, and always wanted me to do well. Siblings, you know, I think they looked after us all equally, and wanted just the best for us. And I think when you have that upbringing, you know, you can only go forward.
So, you know, where you was, South Auckland, is there a lot of islanders, as you would call them?
A lot of islanders.
A lot of islanders, yeah. So, Samoans,
Tongans, Fijians. I think it's a very diverse place. Really? I mean, New Zealand is very diverse. You've got Chinese, Indian, everything. But in South Auckland, there's a lot of Polynesians, a lot of islanders.
And how would the islanders get on with one another? So, say if you're from Tonga or Samoa.
Yeah, we all get along. There is a rivalry against, you know, Samoans and Tongans in the past were always like quite,
really,
you know, rugby teams, boxing, fighting, but we all do get along.
Because I see when they play rugby, they all have the haka.
Yeah, we all have different hakas.
Yeah, like
in New Zealand, the All Blacks have the haka, the Māori haka, and Samoa, the Samoan haka. Tonga, they have their haka, and I think it's just a way of. Like who they want to see who's the warrior and who's the toughest, you know, by showing it in the haka and in performance.
What would you like at school? I remember asking you actually. I said you must have been the biggest at school.
No, I was one of them. Nah, not at all. Listen, all these islanders, they're big, and I thought I was big back in school, but I was okay. They're just average size.
Was you really?
Yeah. Seriously, wow. And I'm like, in New Zealand there are a lot of big islander boys. Men. And
what was you like?
Kid? I passed everything in school. I had a scholarship after school to do construction. But I felt like I tried to be cool in school, you know, back then when you're young, and that's where I met my wife in school.
Childhood
sweetheart, yeah.
Yeah, that's quality. At what age did you start boxing?
Started boxing
Like properly
when I was about 11 years old.
About 11, down the amateur club. So you were just telling me there, you've got 2 siblings.
Yeah.
Your grandfather, your nan and granddad, your mum's...
My mum's dad had about 27 kids.
27
something
kids.
like that, yeah. that we know of. We have a big family. My mum's one of like 27. My dad's one of like 28.
Yeah. So had anybody in your family boxed before? Where did that come from?
My dad, his name is Dempsey.
Right.
He was born in Samoa.
That's right.
And I'm not sure, my grandma must have been listening to the radio back in the day, must have liked the name Dempsey and then named him after Jack Dempsey. He has a disability. Like as a young baby, someone stood on his leg, so he limps everywhere. One leg is skinnier than the other leg.
Right.
But he always loved boxing and street fights, said he always won. And he introduced us to boxing at the age of like 2 or 3. And that's when we started, watching video clips of Mike Tyson and Lennox and all that back in the day.
So about 11 years old, you go to the amateur club, fell in love with boxing.
I loved it ever since I was about 5 years old.
Right.
But then 11 years old, had a first amateur fight at 12. I was quite chubby, but the guy I was fighting was chubbier than me, so he made me look like I was in good shape.
How many amateur? You won the fight, so you won your first fight.
Won the first fight, yeah.
How many amateur fights did you have?
I think I had about 90 or 100, like around that, 90, 100.
Do you know what? I've been a big fan of yours since, I think going way back now. I think for UK fans who really got to know you would have been either Andy Ruiz or the Huey Fury fight, really when we sort of knew who you was. But I didn't quite understand how extensive your amateur career was and who you fought. You boxed in the 2010 Commonwealth Games. Fraser Clark. Fought Fraser Clark. You lost in the final, didn't you? It was an Indian fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So straight away, you think, wow, Fraser Clark. You beat a Cuban in the Youth World Championship quarterfinals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then your next fight was
Herkovich.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah.
You fought Herkovich.
I fought Herkovich as an amateur.
Yeah.
Busted my nose. They're going to get it back one day.
Then the Youth Olympic game. It's a tournament my brother won.
Tony Yoka.
Tony Yoka.
Your brother won it?
My brother won it. Yeah, he won it. It was somewhere in the States. He won gold medal, yeah. But you lost to Tony Yoka. And then I didn't even know this, and I commentated on this fight when you fought Zhang. You fought Zhang in 2011. It was the World Championships.
Yeah.
The first fight, right?
Yeah, he beat me on points, yeah.
So I didn't even know that.
So I've fought, going back to the amateurs, I fought a lot of these guys that are on the scene right now.
Junior Fire.
Twice. Fought him twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
Beat him when it mattered, though.
He beat me when it mattered. He actually beat me in the qualifying tournament for the Olympics. And then I wasn't able to, but I beat about 3 or 4 guys that went to the Olympics.
So when you didn't qualify, was that when you turned pro?
Yeah, I thought to myself, I beat 3 or 4 guys that are going to the Olympics. I didn't get the qualifying. I didn't win the tournament that I was supposed to qualify at, so I want to turn professional now.
Yeah, same as me.
Yeah.
I missed that. Like, if we're going to wait another 4 years,
time
to start making some money.
Yeah, but 4 years is a long time to wait. I know you can. A lot of fighters now still wait 4 years. Like, okay, I want to try for the next Olympics.
How old was you when you turned pro?
I was 21 years old.
Obviously, heavyweight then. You could have waited.
Could have waited,
but
one guy that said to me, his name was Marcelino Masoi, and he was like a world champion Samoan fighter. And he said to me, he went to 3 Olympics, and he said if he could turn back time, he would only go to 1 and then turn professional.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to take that advice, and I'm just going to turn professional, and try there.
And what was your aspirations then when you turned pro? Did you have goals? Obviously, it was to be a world champion, but did you honestly, if you could go back, 5th of July 2012 was your debut. Yeah. If you could go back then, did you honestly believe that you could be a world champion?
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even being from New Zealand, where it's not exactly the hotbed of
New Zealand is not
boxing.
really the biggest place for boxing. You know, there's boxing. They got boxing in gyms. They got boxing in class. They do classes, box fit classes, and that. But it's not really the biggest place where you see a lot of big fighters come. There's David Tua. There was Shane Cameron. There's Junior Farr, who's retired now. There's myself. But it's not really the biggest place. So I did have the goal of being. I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to be champion of the world. And my dad said it to me when I was about 8 years old.
Yeah.
He said, son, you're going to be world champion. I'm not
Crazy.
sure how he saw it or how he knew or if he had a feeling, but...
At that point, was you working as well, or was it just boxing?
I worked at McDonald's.
Did you really?
Yeah, I worked at delivering the paper. I worked at another place packaging things and sending it out to... I did probably 5-6 different jobs.
Lawrence Okoli, he worked in McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know how to make all the burgers. If you can make you one after this.
Yeah, deal. 5th of July 2012, the pro journey begins. Who did you fight?
I fought a guy named Dean Garman's way.
Yes. I always like throwing these little trick questions in.
Dean Garman's way.
Can you remember the fight?
Yeah.
Was it second?
It was
second
like
round?
the sponsor for the fight was KFC, and it was on
the rivals, McDonald's.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I sort of left McDonald's and it was on the undercard of Shane Cameron versus Monty Barrett.
What was it? Back then, was there a big emphasis on selling tickets, and was there any pressure on you to sort of build a following in New Zealand?
It was. There was pressure to build a following because no one knew who I was, and what David Higgins done at the time, who's my manager now, he got me to go from the top of New Zealand to the bottom of New Zealand in 10, 15 days doing media. Every single media outlet there was, radio, TV, paper, everything.
Really?
We just did that numerous times just to get the people of New Zealand to know who I was and what I was trying to achieve and what I was trying to do.
I've got here, your sick fight was your first step up.
Both are.
Yeah, fans both are. You also, at what point did you relocate to Vegas and train?
Just before
It was just before Bofa.
Yeah.
So you had your first 5 training.
I had first 4 fights in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Then I relocated and started training with Kevin Barry in Las Vegas. Had one fight 4 weeks later just to see how we got on with each other, if the communication was there, if I was able to listen, apply things that I was learning. And then we had the Francois Botha fight back in New Zealand.
And how did the sort of the connection with Barry come about?
Oh, it was through Duco Events, my promotional company.
Right.
Dean Lonergan, David Higgins, they were my promoters at the time.
Yeah.
And they had a good relationship with Kevin. And Kevin has been around for a while. Like, he looked after David Tua in his career. And for me, it was just about leaving New Zealand and actually trying to, go to Vegas and learn as much as I can. Because in New Zealand, it's quite, you leave your you leave your missus, you leave your parents, your siblings, the comforts of home, and then you relocate to Vegas, this whole new place, crazy place. And you're like every time I went there, I was just like, what the heck? Like, I'm in Las Vegas.
So you would have been 22 years old? 22, 23?
22, yeah.
21, 22 in Vegas.
In Vegas.
Was it hard to stay focused?
In the beginning, you don't know anyone, so all you're doing is training, eating and sleeping, and just everything's boxing. But after a few years, when you start meeting people and making friends, it does get quite hard to stay on track because you got temptation coming.
So would you live there, or would you just literally go there for training camp?
I'll fly there like 5 times a year.
Wow.
And do training camps with Kevin and his wife Tanya. She was doing all the meals at the time. And just living there, doing everything boxing.
And what was it, like training in comparison to New Zealand? Was it a big shock?
Big shock because in New Zealand there's no real sparring.
No, that's what I thought.
And in Vegas, everything I was doing was just boxing, watching fights, eating, resting, talking boxing every day. Whereas in New Zealand, I got friends, I got places where I can go hang out. And you're not really on the ball the whole time. Yeah.
3 years after the Bofa fight, I would say this is a tough fight, and it's a win that's probably aged really, really well when you beat Takam.
Yeah.
That must have been a tough night.
Do you know what? I don't know if it's the same with your career, but when you have a big fight locked in, you think you should have a longer camp.
Yeah.
Right? And then you train even harder. And I felt like going into that fight with Takam was a big fight, big challenge, and the camp was longer. But the training, like when you overtrain, I felt like going into that fight was overtrained.
Really?
Overtrained, yeah. And I felt like, I had to, with Kevin and everything he did, we had to sort of overtrained, and I sort of had a dip. Then we had to sort of climb back before the fight and the fight date.
How were these opportunities coming about? Takam, that's a big fight.
Yeah.
That's a big fight. So obviously the team, you were with Higgins, he was grafting, doing his thing.
He was doing his thing. He was trying to, with the matchmaker, trying to, make sure that they were guiding my career the right way and also on the right path and not trying to rush it, but have to give him a test. And Takam was a big test. Like after the fight, I remember after the fight, I'm like, damn, my jaw was like so sore. I was like, what a prick. But we got along well. Takam and I got along well. But at that time, he only had one loss to Povetkin, and he was a beast of a fighter.
He's in some shape, wasn't he?
He was always in shape.
He honestly
and
carved out of stone.
Yeah. And then you have my body type, which wasn't really like he was like, ugh.
A win there sets you up for what you'd have to say was your defining moment at the time.
Yeah,
massive.
That was a great win, and I think that was the fight that sort of just got people a bit more aware of us down in New Zealand.
Yeah, and then Andy Ruiz,
big
fight.
2016.
How was your mentality going into that? Was there any added nerves? Like this is your moment. This is the vacant WBO world title.
You know how you have fights in your career, you always have stories and backstories behind every fight and what's happened leading into the fight. And I think the Andy Ruiz fight was probably one of the worst preparations I've ever had.
So you've gone from Takam having a long camp,
and
maybe overtrained,
and
then what happened
to Ruiz? The fight was locked in. Then I flew from Vegas to Palm Springs to negotiate the deal. Then ended up going to a concert that was there. I called it the Desert Trip with the Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney, Roger. Shouldn't have went, obviously preparing for a big fight. Then I flew back to Vegas and I had to fly home to New Zealand and flew back. So I was all this flying. And when I left Vegas, I wasn't even able to complete 4 rounds of sparring. And I was just looking at Kevin at the time. Just body was just gone from all the travel and not really resting. And so I just thought to myself, man, this is not the best prep. And
so how far away from the fight was that?
2 weeks before.
2 weeks before, you struggled to do 4 rounds?
We struggled to do 4 rounds.
Wow.
Like 2.5 weeks. We flew to New Zealand 2 weeks before the fight. And that's where everything just started coming right. But before that it wasn't the best prep. And
the fight was in New Zealand.
The fight was in New Zealand.
So you've done the bulk of your training in Vegas, couldn't do 4 rounds, and then the last 2 weeks it all sort of
came back, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was also speaking to a psychologist, and all these things did help with the performance and being able to overcome. Like I was tired in the fight, and he got me with some great body shots. Yeah,
tough,
very close fight.
Yeah,
could have went either way. But when I watched the fight back, I'm like, yeah, I won the fight.
Yeah, and I think that's another one, like the Takam fight. That victory is aged well when you see what
he was
Ruiz
able to
has done.
Yeah,
massive. He created history.
Well, listen,
didn't he?
He went on to beat Joshua,
first Mexican heavyweight, world champion,
unified, eh?
Yeah. The fight itself, tough. Then the camp weren't great.
Yeah.
What do you remember about Andy Ruiz as a fighter back then?
When he came to New Zealand to fight me, I think a lot of people saw the shape that he was in, and they thought what, like, what people judge a book by its cover. I did the same thing when I was in Vegas. My coach took me to a gym and said, "Okay, you're sparring this guy," and it was Andy Ruiz, and I looked at him and go, "Okay," and then I got in there thinking I was going to smash him. He chased me from post to post for 4 rounds and just put it on me and bashed me up.
When was this?
This is before we fought. This was like when I first went to Vegas.
Right. He walloped you?
It walloped me, yeah. And then when he came to New Zealand, I was telling everyone, like, this guy is tough, guys. Don't look at his body type.
Yeah.
He's tough. He knows what he's doing. He's very experienced. He's solid. And the fight showed.
Was there any added nerves then? Like, as you approached the fight, could you remember that spar? Thinking,
oh, yeah. I remember everything. I remember how sore my mouth was. There was a bit of a hole inside, so I couldn't really eat properly from the initial spar, you know?
Really?
So I knew that he had, you know, he could pop.
You win the fight, close fight, but you win it. World champion. How was your... I mean, I use myself as an example. When I won a world title, it was like, well, I've done it now.
Yeah.
I was content. I was instantly content. Where was your mind at then? Like,
I think pretty much the same.
Serious?
I was like, I won a world title. Did it for my dad. Did it for the coach. Did it for New Zealand, Samoa. Then I was just I felt like I was just going to party like a rock star. And
because I'm guessing at that point you still hasn't made life-changing money. Far from it.
No.
At one part you're thinking, well, I've still got a lot more money I can earn.
Yeah.
But I've won a world title.
And then you just become like that was the goal.
Yeah.
So what's next? Like, I didn't really set any other goals to be excited about. The only goal was to be champion of the world. I wasn't even thinking about trying to unify all the belts and try to, you know, fight everyone else who had the belts.
How was your popularity back in New Zealand after that fight? World champion.
Yeah, it's quite big, yeah. A lot of people wanted to hang out. A lot of people wanted to party. And I just had my first daughter at the time, Elizabeth. I think that was sort of like my saving grace, you know, having...
Got you back on track a little bit. And,
yeah.
Yeah, because you're not doing it for yourself anymore, are you?
No, you got your family,
yeah,
your kids, and you got your missus, your wife.
You had back-to-back wins after that. One of them being probably the best fight I've ever seen against Hughie Fury. weren't the greatest fight, was it?
It wasn't the greatest fight, and it was a horrible fight.
He could make, and this is no disrespect to Hughie Fury at all, he's got a style that works for him, but he can make it a nightmare for anyone, can't he?
Listen, he made it a nightmare for sure. But you know, like when you're a top fighter, you can, you know, in the ring, if it's not going the way you want, you can adjust and adapt and you can change it up. But at the time, I didn't think I could do, you know, I wasn't really that fighter who could do anything like that. Even after the fight, for me, it was just horrible to watch myself. Like,
did you watch the fight back?
I watched it back, but I don't really want to watch it back because it wasn't really a lot to watch.
Yeah. Do you have a bit of fun with, I know you're close to Tyson Fury now.
Yeah.
Have you ever spoke about that fight with Hughie too, Tyson?
Yeah, because Tyson, you know, supports his family and he was backing Hughie at the time. But credit to Tyson, after the fight, said, you know, the best man won. And then him and I went and had a great time.
Yeah. God, I'd love to have been a fly on the ball for some of those.
That was at the time where he wasn't really, you know, he wasn't boxing, and he finished from boxing. He was just letting loose, you know.
Yeah.
Where he went through sort of a dark period in his life.
I know you don't really drink now, but who could outdrink who? You or Tyson?
I'm done with that.
Yeah.
But back then, I'll drink everyone.
Serious?
Huh?
Oh man!
Except for George Lockhart.
Yeah,
he's the craziest. It's way better being this way.
Yeah,
you know, just productive and happy
yeah.
and clear.
Look, yeah, 100%. And I think for you, certainly, you're in a position now, and I'm fast forward a little bit now.
Opportunity,
but, yeah. I mean, imagine one day in 10 years' time, you saying, if I would have just give it a little bit more, you know, didn't take my foot off the gas, and you're doing the right thing. Look, you beat Hughie Fury, and then what a night. What a night this is. I mean, talk to me about how the opportunity to fight Anthony Joshua in a stadium fight back home in the UK in Cardiff come about.
We weren't really an option for Joshua. It was, we were relatively still unknown coming from New Zealand. So my promoter, David Higgins, and the team at the time were doing call-out videos and saying Glassjaw and, you know, who's the better fighter, Joseph Parker, and, you know, they were trying to make some noise to get this fight made. And it got the attention of Eddie and Joshua, and then I think that's where sort of the talk started to begin, when we were just doing the call-out videos, you know.
Incredible. What an occasion.
What an occasion.
What an occasion.
Again, if I could, another story to that fight, if I could turn back time, like now that I live the life now. I train, I eat, I rest, and I do everything right. Back then, when I went into the camp for Joshua, I used the camp as a way of losing weight and getting in shape. Like I was 125 kgs of fat.
Really?
Right? And I used the camp to get down to 107 kgs. Imagine if I went in shape and I used it as a way of building and working on technique and skills. It could have been a different approach. You know, it could have been a bit more aggressive in the fight or a bit more confident, but I was very passive and defensive.
Do you think, is that, again, part of you being content, being a world champion? You took your foot off the gas a little bit beforehand?
Way off the gas.
Really?
And then when the fight was locked in, I thought, you know what? I need to take this seriously. But just when you're using the camp to lose the weight, you're not really working on, like you are working on things, but not to the, you know, the fullness of what you can.
And what was your perception of Anthony Joshua before that fight?
You know, he knocked everyone out before.
Yeah, he was looking dangerous.
He was he was a dangerous fighter with big power. And going into the fight, I just thought defensive and be a counter puncher. You know, that was the plan going into that fight.
Again, I've been in that position in a 12-round fight where I had some hip issues and I didn't train properly for one of the fights, and there was always this worry that I couldn't put my foot on the gas just in case I blew up.
Yeah.
And that did happen to me. After 6 rounds, I was completely knackered. And it is the worst feeling in the world. Was there a part of that going through your thoughts as well? Like don't go through the gears. If I went too hard,
I might get into the point where I'm gassed and then he can put it on me. And the great thing is that you can touch on this because you've been through it before. When you're gassed and you got nothing left,
I'm gonna look down the camera. Being unfit or not being 100% prepared in a fight, being in a ring for 12 rounds and being in that state is the loneliest place in the world.
It's lonely.
In the world. I remember getting back to the corner after 6 rounds and I'd walloped this guy. Andy Lee fought the same guy as well, beat him. It wasn't great, but strong. Yeah. I battered him for 6 rounds.
And
I sat down. He took everything I had. I sat down. I looked at Tony in the eyes. I went, Tony, I'm fucked. then the second half of the fight, he was all over me like a rash, and it was just survival. And it was the loneliest.
It is lonely,
horrible
because you got
place
no one,
I've ever been.
You can't, like rugby. You can, you know, I use that as or netball, whatever sport. You got reserves, right? This sport.
You're on your own.
You're on your own.
You're on your own. And the nature of the sport, you got someone in there
trying to bash you from post to post.
Whether it be Anthony Joshua or being the guy I fought, these are life-changing opportunities. And if they see that you're starting to wilt and you're not where you should be, they're on you.
They're on you way more.
Sorry, I'm so glad I'm retired.
It's lonely. It's very lonely.
So look, you lose the fight. But you go the distance. The first man at the time to go the distance with Anthony Joshua.
And again, it wasn't an exciting fight because, you know, he was a bit standoffish and he was using his jab and trying to control the fight, and I was being very defensive.
Yeah, but then I guess though you lost, you come out of the ring, the loser on the night, probably become more recognised because of who you'd fought and the occasion.
Yeah.
People in the UK really knew who you was. I think proper boxing fans, like I say, knew you from the Ruiz fight and the Fury fight. But that was when, wow, okay, we've got this nice guy here. He can obviously fight. He come up short against Anthony Joshua. Did things change after that fight?
Things did change, yeah. There was a lot more recognition here in the UK. When you're fighting someone like Joshua who has that massive following and he's like the poster boy, you know, like he's the guy. And even though I lost, there was a lot of respect, and there was a lot more support, you know. And then going home, you know, it's not the best when you lose a fight, and it's not, you know, you lost your belt, but people were very supportive, and they still backed me.
How was time after that? I mean, again, you achieved an awful lot. That would have been your biggest payday, I'm guessing.
Biggest payday, yeah.
You go back home. What was the initial thoughts then? What was the plan? Did you have any or?
Plan was going home. I was able to, look after people like family, parents, and look after myself and my wife. And then I wanted to get straight back into fighting.
You did, yeah.
I wanted to get straight back, and I'm like, I need to fight again straight away.
And it was Dillian Whyte.
And it was Dillian Whyte.
What do you remember of that fight? You lost on points.
I remember the first 2 rounds, I was able to put it on Dillian, and I was able to control him and land the shots. And then he caught me with a really nice headbutt.
Yeah, I remember.
He caught me with a really nice headbutt in the 3rd round. And from the 3rd round onwards, not again, this is not an excuse, but I felt a bit like lost. I just felt like I was in a daze or a dream, and I felt like I'm not, maybe concussed, I'm not sure, but I felt like I just felt a bit weird in there,
Again, what was the ambition then to win titles again, or was it just to be in big fights, earning big money? Can you remember where your mind was at then?
Mine was wanting to get the title back.
Yeah?
Yeah, I wanted it back. So I thought to myself, when we locked in the fight with Dillian, he's a big name. If we can get a win off Dillian and maybe one more, then we can get straight back to fighting for the title again.
And was you still in Vegas at this time?
Still in Vegas, training with Kevin.
Yeah. And how was things at that point? You was happy? Was it becoming a bit of a strain? It's a lot of traveling.
It's a lot of travel, and we did talk about it before, but when you're away from your family for a long period of time, you start to not like boxing.
Yeah.
You don't like it because you're away, you're not spending time with the family, you're just stuck training. And I don't blame anyone else, but when I was going to Vegas, I wasn't looking forward to going to training. Yeah. I wasn't enjoying it.
That's tough though. It's the boxing's hard enough as it is, but then to pack your bags and sort of say bye to your loved ones, to then go somewhere that you. How many times would you have been Vegas at this point?
20 times.
Yeah, over 20 times. The novelty wears off, and you've got to be completely in love with every component of this sport.
You have to love the sport, otherwise, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's a dangerous sport, very lonely sport. So if you're doing it and you're not enjoying it, what's the point? What's the purpose? What
was Dillian Whyte like?
Dillian Whyte, he's a bit of a prick. he's like
you still think that now?
Yeah, because sometimes he's nice and then sometimes he's just a prick. And I'll text him and say, hey, what's up? Like, how are you? He goes, yeah, like F you is how I'm doing. I'm like, and then the next time I'll text him, I'll say, hey Dillian, I like those shirts, the Birdie Num Num shirts, whatever he had made. And then I was like, can I get some? And then he sent me some shirts to New Zealand. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of bipolar, or is he's up and down.
Maybe he wants
at the moment he's fine because we haven't really spoken.
But anyway, you have that fight.
Another loss back to back.
Yeah. So again, did you still believe? Honestly, honest.
You start questioning yourself.
You're like, of course.
Am I as good as I thought I was? Am I meant to be? So can I still make it in boxing?
Yeah.
All these questions. Am I doing the right? Am I training right? What am I doing wrong?
Would you get nervous before fights?
I only got nervous when I didn't take the training seriously,
right, yeah.
And I was out doing things I shouldn't have done. That's when I'll get nervous. Like,
you're not bothered about getting in the ring and fighting.
No. Getting in the ring and fighting is it's what you do leading into the fight. Did you?
Yeah, I did get nervous, but I couldn't pinpoint why I got nervous.
Do you think that's
I don't know if it was
natural? Just being.
I think so. There was one fight I wasn't nervous early on in my career, and I was nervous because I wasn't nervous, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I was nervous. But I think for me, look, we're men, and we've done this since we were kids. It was never the fear of getting hurt. I think for me, it was the fear of losing.
Yeah.
Nothing hurts me more than losing to another man.
Yeah.
It's not a nice feeling.
Because you, as a fighter, you're here. like you're the best in the world.
Yeah.
And when you lose to someone, you're like,
yeah. But do you know what? Funny enough you say that, Joe. I think I didn't give myself enough credit. Not credit, sorry. I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah.
Never believed in myself. So, you know, and I still probably don't now. So can you imagine losing a fight and having the mentality I've got? You know, I really started to...
that's double down. Like you're...
Oh, yeah, I was thinking, oh, well, I'm a piece of shit.
Wow.
I used to think, this is terrible. This is the one thing I'm supposed to be good at, and I can't even win a fight. Albeit, I only lost 2 as a pro, and one was to Sergio Martinez, the other to Felix Stern. But still, even if I didn't have a good sparring session or something like that,
You just wouldn't...
and I think that was where the nerves... came from the fear of losing.
Yeah.
And I could go off on a mad rant now. I remember my dad telling me, don't worry about losing. Don't worry about losing. And I never really understood what he meant at the time, because I always felt the fear of losing kept me switched on. That was enough for me to do enough to win.
Yeah.
But it also stopped me
from going...
Yeah, really doing it. Like, I've watched some of my fights. Like, my son now is starting to get into boxing. My youngest son loves it. And he keeps saying, Daddy, put some of your fights on. And I remember watching one of my fights.
Yeah.
And I might have told this story before. And I remember watching it. And it wasn't even that long ago. And I remember thinking, I was frustrated. I won the fight. I stopped the guy, I think, in the 7th round. But I remember thinking, I could have done better here. And it was because of that fear of losing. I was stopping myself from losing. But I could have done more.
You could have stopped them earlier. Oh, yeah.
I won the fight. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But I was watching it thinking, I could have done more. And it was frustrating. I think I fought a lot of the time not to lose.
Not to lose.
As opposed to really go out and grab the fight.
Okay, now I know what you're saying. Because you fight not to lose. You want to win, but you're fighting not to lose.
Yeah.
So is that enough to give you the win?
What it was a successful path.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody see how good I could have been, including myself, because
you put those limitations.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of letting 4 or 5 shots go at the fear of getting caught with a counter.
1, 2.
Exactly that. So you, at this point, after Dillian Whyte, you beat your old amateur rival, Junior Farr. You beat him in a fight.
My work ethic was great, but it probably worked against me because I worked too hard.
And I guess you must have been so eager to right
when
the
you're
wrong.
When you're eager to put on a good performance and look better and win, you sometimes that's your downfall.
Yeah,
because you work too hard. And understanding what I know now, like I now have the best balance. But looking back, it was just too much.
Yeah, but that's experience, right?
That's experience.
That's when people talk about experience, it's not just being in fights, it's the whole build up, it's the whole package. That is what it's experience is. Yeah, I mean, look, imagine you had the knowledge you do now going right back then. I mean,
I probably wouldn't appreciate it as I do now.
Yeah.
Like now I love it. I love it every day.
Isn't it?
It's mad.
Crazy.
And I'm 33, sorry.
It's like you've been around forever.
I feel like I've been around, like the longest time.
As a heavyweight as well, you say 33 sort of prime.
I feel like I'm hitting my prime now. And I got, again, touch on Andy Lee, but he's like a master of boxing. Also George Lockhart, who in his own field.
It's all there. I mean, we're going to get on to the future now. Everything is there. Going back to that, and so Junior Farr, then you have 2 flipping wars with
Chisora.
War Chisora.
It's only war with him. He comes, the first fight just shocked me because he just chased me down like Andy Ruiz did in the sparring session, but he did it for 12 rounds. He just chased me around and I was just on the back foot the whole time, like, damn, get off me.
How did he compare to Dillian Whyte, 2 former rivals?
Yeah, Dillian Whyte was more controlled.
Yeah.
And he picked his shots and he was still aggressive, but where Chisora was just non-stop. Like he was on top of you the whole time. You couldn't breathe. And even when he was in the clinches, like all these little, they all added up.
Who punched harder, Dillian Whyte or Chisora? Tough one. But both big punches?
Both big punches, yeah. Like Chisora's little shots like this, they were sore. I'm like, stuff you, man.
Sod being a heavyweight.
I was like, stuff you. Like in the second fight, I'm like, all right, I'm going to give you some back up yourself, like that.
I'll throw this question in now. Who is the hardest puncher you've been in with? Whether it be sparring, amateur, pro, who's hit you and you thought, wow, that hurt?
when you look at obviously there's Joyce, Dillian, Whyte, Chisora, but I would say Andy Ruiz.
Serious?
He's like it's like a shock, like when you hit you because of the speed and power. It's like a shock, like your whole body's like, whoa.
See, that surprises me. Really? So, Wilder didn't really catch it, did he? Really?
But Wilder caught me on the gloves, and I thought to myself, lucky my left hand is up, because
Really?
that punch was, I'm like, what the heck was that? And
Zhang as well. I know he dropped you,
Zhang caught me, but it wasn't really the
bit of a
most.
flash knockdown.
Yeah. Whereas Ruiz,
Andy Ruiz, you would say the biggest puncher, or the fighter that
the one that felt the most, yeah.
Wow.
Just because of the shock and the speed.
And you mentioned Joe Joyce there. Another great fight. That must have been a tough one, tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. Going
you-
into that fight, I had the best sparring, and then 2 weeks before the fight, I got really sick.
Did you?
And then I had a few days off. I came back and started doing sparring, but it was never the same. But then mentally going to the fight, like as a fighter, you're like, what can you do? I'm going to smash this guy. Then after one round with Joyce, I came back to the corner. I said to Andy what you said to your coach, I am gone.
And it was after what round?
One round.
After one round.
I said, I am done. He goes, we're in a fight. I'm like, I couldn't, just my whole body was gone, breathing was gone. I'm just like, okay, all right, let's go.
Wow.
Done after one round. Joyce, though, he's a beast.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy
he's not really fulfilled.
Times that, like, after a year later, like, he sort of went down, and, I've gone back up a year.
Do you think he's underachieved? Do you think he should be doing better?
I feel like he should. I feel like he should be doing better. And the fight with Chisora, like when Chisora is sort of like one of those fighters where he's just there to see who's coming up and who's next now. But losing to Chisora is a big. It's quite a big. It's a big loss in your career.
Yeah. You teamed up with Andy Lee around that time. Was that before? When did you team up with Andy? Before
the first Chisora
fight. Yeah. So as far as team and your surroundings are concerned, you're in a really good place. Team-wise, you were good people who know boxing, and everything's great in that sense. But then to lose in the manner you did against Joe Joyce, now what are you thinking?
I'm like, so I go back home, and everyone just feels sorry for you, like, and you're like, good try, and you'll be back, but you really, like, no one thinks you're ever going to be back. They say it.
Did you?
Yeah, I went home. I said to my wife, I said, this is not how it's supposed to be. Like, surely, I'm leaving you guys here in New Zealand. I'm traveling to training camp. I'm doing everything right. Why is everything not going right?
Was there doubt as well, though?
Never doubt, just like questions. Why?
Right, okay.
Then I rolled on to a fight with Jack Massey. And again, poor performance. But before the fight, ill. And I'm just thinking, like, if I'm doing everything right, why am I getting sick? And why I'm feeling like crap? Why is my power not coming through? Why I'm training hard and my fitness wasn't even great. I'm like, surely I have to change something.
And when did George
came straight after the Jack Massey fight.
Straight after?
I texted him and I said, George, if you're free, can I have you for one camp?
Wow, what a difference he has made.
Then he flew into Morecambe Bay where I was training. We had the fight with Django in Australia. And then we went there, finished him off in one round. Then we went on to Simon Keane in October. And then we went to Wilder and then Zhang.
And your chemistry as well, the two of you, that coupled with Andy Lee, you got a great team.
I have a fantastic team. Like in the beginning with working with George, it was just about clearing out the body, and like I went to the gym to follow some sort of program that I had online, and he said, "Oh, what are you working on here?" And I had no answers to his questions. And then I said to him, "George, can you please just take me through one session?" And then one thing led to the next. Now he does all the strength conditioning, nutrition, recovery, and Andy does all the boxing.
It's great.
And there's a lot of science to this, to boxing and to training, but it's just some one of those things that's not really tapped in boxing.
It's it's a rebirth of Joseph Parker, almost.
Yeah.
All of that's coming together, the team-wise. Your mentality's there. It's always been strong. Your experience is there. You're coming into your prime. You destroy Simon Keane, and you did destroy him. And then 2 huge wins. 2 massive wins. Zhang, you get revenge from the amateur days.
Yeah.
He drops you early. You beat him. You do the right thing. Massive puncher.
Again, that was a close fight. But I was busier, and I was able to just try and to avoid Zhang's punches. If he lands with that, what was he, at 290 something pounds, the weight behind him, and also his fundamentals and the way he's been around for a long time, so he's smooth.
Yeah, he is. He's so
very
relaxed.
Smooth, right? At the way how he
don't
relaxed.
load up, does he?
Just pops out of there. The next thing
He's a
on the
frustrating fighter though, because
Yeah.
he's so lazy in a fight. He just doesn't throw nothing.
No.
And you just think if you
Like
just let your hands
anyone
go.
can be busier than Zhang in the fight, right? And I was a lot busier.
At this point as well, you beat Simon Keane on the Fury and Ngannou Riyadh season kicks off. How great it must be to be involved. You know, you're one of the big names. You're one of you and Daniel Dubois, you'd have to say, aside from Usyk, are the form heavyweights right now. Ajit Kabayar's a shout for him as well. But, you're the form heavyweights aside from Usyk. So you're a prominent feature really on these cards now. How are you finding all of this Riyadh season, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh's involvement?
Mind-blowing, because firstly, it's great to be involved. And I have to thank Spencer Brown, because he's been one of those guys who's always had my back, even when things were down. Got me gigs, and he was able to get me into the Riyadh season and into these big fights. And imagine that you're a fighter that's not even involved in this. You'll be sitting on the outside going, please, someone mention my name, or please get me a fight. And to be able to be involved, but to get the wins, and then to set up bigger fights, I think that's been the key. That's just been, I'm just like, man, I'm sometimes like, just the powers that be, he's very grateful to be in this position.
Does that add any pressure? Those fights that have been on Riyadh season, have you felt any more pressure, understanding that if you lose, you could potentially be and if you win, it's just mega money. There's mega opportunities. Is there any added pressure to win? Have you noticed?
I wouldn't say pressure, but like, do you know how we spoke about it before? When you focus so much on not losing, and you just want to win. My focus now has changed. I feel like it's changed a lot. And like in the past, like win. Now it's, I want to get everything right in camp, and I want to enjoy the process. And if I go out there and I perform to the best of my ability and get everything right, the movement, hand speed, combinations, the result will take care of itself. Yeah. So pressure, I don't really feel. I just feel like as long as I'm doing everything right, I love it. Like I love every day waking up and training. I love the food that George makes. I love talking to Andy about the plan that we're going to have going into this fight. I love it all.
Oh, great. So
it's crazy. Like, honestly, I could do this for another 10 years, but I won't. Now, I'm 33 now, and I've got a good 2-3 years.
What is that saying? If you do something you love, it's not a job.
It's not a job,
You know what I mean?
Did you love boxing? Like, did you love it? Was there any point? Was there any point where, like, you said, like, I'm at the point now where I love it every day? Like, did you ever have that feeling?
It become very difficult. Like when my brother passed away, I was convinced I'd never fight again. I'd had sort of 10 fights as a pro, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. You know what it's like when you got people that are close to you in boxing, or whether it be family, you keep them even closer because it's so hard. And I lent on my brother, like, even though he was younger than me, and he would lean on me, and not having him there was difficult. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. So a lot of love went from boxing from that moment, and it became like I wanted to succeed for my brother. I think you'll agree as well. That feeling of winning, it's hard to replicate. It's the best feeling ever. So as much as I hated the losing weight and the pressure of having to, in my own mind,
but that winning feeling,
it made it all worthwhile. And I look back now and I think I'm glad I persevered, because if I didn't win a world title, I wouldn't be in a position I'm in now. I wouldn't be sat here talking to you now. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met all these great fighters that I'm in awe of. I mean, yesterday, at the time of recording this podcast, we was at the Ring Awards in London at the Royal Navy College. Joe, you know, like I'm so thrilled to be shaking your hand there and meeting all of these great fighters. You know, Canelo walks past me. He's the only fighter I hadn't met. I met him yesterday. You know, I would not be in this position if it wasn't for my perseverance through
all the things you've been through.
Yeah, so...
Is there any other, like, when I think about it, like having a baby but is there any other feeling that can top being champion of the world or being a winner, or I don't know, it's quite hard.
Yeah, so you can't. I think comparing your birth of children, that's what life's all about.
That's life.
But then you have your professional and your hobbies and your loves away from family.
Okay,
no, there isn't nothing. When I heard Buffer say "and the new," that will never, ever be beaten.
It won't be topped.
Ever be beaten outside of family. Do you know what I mean? Outside of family, there is nothing. Yeah. You know, unless I was to win the Euro Millions or something, you know, I probably nothing is beating that. Wilder fight. What was it like going in there, kind of with a wounded animal, really, in Deontay Wilder? Yeah, like you know, he's a huge puncher, one of the biggest punchers the heavyweight division's ever seen.
Yeah,
you don't know what kind of Deontay Wilder you're gonna get. What was, you know, what are the thoughts going into that fight?
I was because of the camp that I had with George and Andy, and I was preparing for a fighter who was going to put it on me. Wilder's fight plan and game going into all the fights is that he is aggressive, and then going into this fight, as soon as the bell rang, he went on his back foot straight away. So I started thinking, I'll apply the pressure then. So it was way different from what we prepared for and what I was actually thinking was going to happen.
That's interesting, because from my thoughts, it was you made him go back. I thought you straight away were pushing him back, but it wasn't.
We practiced and like going to the center of the ring, and then that's what if you can control the fight, you can control it. But if you're, but his style is pushing people back, like from his fights that I've seen, that he's had. Would you agree?
Yeah,
like some fights he'll go back.
Tyson in the last two fights, bullied Wilder, but still, he's huge, Tyson, right? But you look at the knockout ratio.
Like Wilder's knockout ratio, like crazy. He is the biggest puncher of all time. If you look at the knockouts that he's had and his record. So I was always, going to the fight, always like wary and always like eyes were like just. Where's the right hand going to come, Just always cautious. Because
What win though? When you look back at your career, what would you say your biggest win is?
Biggest win?
Yeah. Most important win?
It's probably the wins of recent time.
Yeah.
Like being a champion of the world is what every fighter wants to be coming into the sport of boxing. But being able to, with the Wilder and Zhang fight and then making a name for myself or being involved in these discussions and these big fights, I think the important time is now.
So would you say Wilder probably?
Wilder would be because of what the reputation he had.
Yeah.
And what he came with and what everyone thought was going to happen.
Just a few more on the current scene. What was your thoughts on Fury Usyk?
Tough fight.
Did the right man win?
At the time watching, you sort of watch with your mind and your heart, and I wanted Tyson to win so much and so bad, but when you do watch the fight back, Usyk was very, I think, a bit more precise with his punches and probably landed the cleaner shots. Tyson landed some great shots, but I think the last 4 rounds again, Usyk was able to put a bit more pressure and throw more shots that looked more meaningful.
Yeah. Or what would you like to see Tyson Fury do next?
I think I spoke to Tyson. I said, he's achieved everything he wants in this life. He's become champion of the world. He's got a loving family, wife and kids. It's really up to him if he wants to continue fighting. I know everyone wants to see, I want to see it myself, Joshua and Tyson fight. I think it's a massive fight.
It's got to happen, right?
it's still.
Well, I mean, it
even
doesn't
though-
have to happen. They don't have to take this fight. But surely, with the interest still
Yeah.
from...
from the public, from the fans, from the supporters,
God,
it'll sell. Like, I want to be there. Yeah, we want to be there.
oh, absolutely. Sign me up. And what about AJ? What's your thoughts with AJ? That was a crushing defeat against Dubois. Do you think this is the only fight against Fury that could get him motivated?
I feel like this is the only fight that could get him up, you know? Get him up, get him motivated, get him training hard, pushing along. This is the fight for AJ. I know he's been calling for the fight. He's been on the social media saying he's looking for Tyson Fury, who wasn't able to be with us yesterday at the Ring Magazine. But I think that's a fight that not only he wants, but everyone wants to see.
Could either of those two be world champions again?
Yeah, they can be. Of course they can.
Could we see Joseph Parker in the ring with either?
I would say Joshua, yes. Tyson.
Would you fight Tyson?
I've said it before. I would love to fight the best in the world. And if Tyson wants to win and have all the belts, I'd love to test myself against the best in the world. But he's been very supportive and he's done a lot for me in my career. Like, he's helped bring me back from when I had those dark and down times.
Yeah.
Gave me a house to stay in, his own house, gave me his gym to use, gave me his local, shop to go and he just gave me everything. Sponsors, and so I'm very grateful for everything he's done.
A lot of things that people don't see or hear about.
He just had me in camp and was able to, his mindset's very like winner, smash it, I'm gonna win every day. I'm gonna just put in work and train hard.
This division, the marquee division in world boxing, is starting to look for its next stars. You guys, a few years left. I know you're in your prime. You're fighting for a world title up next. But who, in your opinion, are the next stars of the heavyweight division?
The next stars from outside of the world, you'll say someone like Justice Huni. But from this side of the world, the guy that won last night, Moses Tumba, I think he is going to be a
You inspired with Moses.
Sparta Moses. Very talented, sharp, strong, and he's only 20.
Got till, is it May 18th, I think, to beat Mike Tyson's record of youngest ever heavyweight champion. If he's given the opportunity, do you think he could do it?
I think he can.
Yeah.
He's a special talent, Moses. And he's got good people around him to guide his path to become world champion if he can fight for the title. And he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's a smart boy.
What
Was a boy or man? 20-year-old?
I don't know.
20-year-old?
If I compare myself at 19 to him at 19, the worlds apart.
Yeah.
Worlds apart. I was a little kid. He's destroying fully grown men.
I know.
Do you know the way?
When you do the
destroyed
comparison from what
Dempsey
we've done,
McKean.
yeah, he's a man.
He's got some. He's got some future in front of him. That's for sure. What aside from the heavyweight division, or you can stay in the heavyweight division if you want. What stars or future stars are you most excited about? Who do you enjoy watching?
I do. I enjoy watching. Like Canelo was there. He's always in great fights. Canelo always leaves a great account of himself. Crawford, I like Crawford.
Yeah, whoa, what a
I
fight.
want to see what Shakur does on this event that we have coming up. So a lot of when you look around, there's so many stars in boxing. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I just want to quickly talk about your YouTube channel and some of the videos that you've done.
Oh yeah.
How did that all come about? Because I would say they've been my highlight of the last few years. I don't really watch TV.
Yeah.
Or anything.
Same.
Really, I'm a bit boring when it comes to that. I watch sport. But every now and again, we're all lucky to see one of Josie Parker's videos come out. How did this come about? Are you talking, singing over
Lockdown
the
was,
Anchorman and all things like
Lockdown was just going to start. And I had a guy named Kerry Russell. He's a cameraman, does all the edits, does everything. He said, I got an idea. You want to do this? I love Actually. Can you copy this dance? I said, sweet. What is it for? He said, we're going to let everyone know that even if you stay at home during lockdown, you can enjoy yourself, you can have fun, and you can just, at home. And that's what we did. We did the first video, and then everything else just flowed off that.
How long did it take to learn it?
they're quite fun because you just learn the lines and then you have to in sync, and it's good fun because you can train and you can learn these lines and you can do a bit of acting, and acting's quite hard.
I was going to say, is there any outtakes? Any bloopers?
A lot
Is
of
there?
outtakes.
You got to release the bloopers.
Okay, right.
You got to release the bloopers. Any in the pipeline?
You know what? I would love to give acting a go after my boxing career and see it can either be good or bad. Really, I'll give it everything a go. I'll give everything a go. But acting,
I would be that bad. I couldn't even I couldn't even play myself.
Yes, you can.
Never. I'd
Freeze. You're freeze.
I just wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't act myself. I'd be acting like someone who's trying to act like myself. I would just completely. I completely miss it.
I feel like you give everything a go, and do you know what? Thank you to boxing for giving all these opportunities that come this way.
Mate, I mean, look, you make your own luck in this life. And I will say this, you should be so proud of yourself that, you've had some very big highs and some bad lows. But it's your persistence, your hard work that has kept you in this position. So you should be proud of yourself.
Like
you make your own luck.
You make your own luck.
You make your own luck in this life. You know what I mean? And you've got to give yourself a pat on the back. Perseverance. And that is the making and breaking of a lot of fighters. You like eating raw fish?
Yeah. A lot of people say it's disgusting. A lot of people say it's nice.
Well, I eat sushi, so I can't really judge. It's just, there's a video, I'm sure we'll show it during this. Do you literally catch it and eat it?
Yeah.
So the fish is alive?
Like us islanders, we don't make sure we kill it first.
But all the bones, they get the bones.
The bones it's the best flavour. You want some flavour? Have a raw fish.
You don't get it stuck in your throat or anything.
When I speak to Jai, he says you prepare it with coconut cream and tomatoes and cucumbers, and that's a nice way of eating it as well. But this other way of eating it I think is even nicer.
What? Bang! It's killed. Just stick a fish down your throat. Do you think it tastes better than it being cooked?
Yeah, I prefer it. Yeah. Don't you get all the nutrients, everything?
You eat the whole fish.
You don't waste anything from the fish. Why do you think I have my vision so good? Eating
That's
all
true.
those eyes.
I thought it was carrots.
I
thought my nan also used to say to me, "Eat your carrots." You never see a rabbit wearing glasses. So I always thought carrot.
But one day, if you do make it to New Zealand one day, I would like to take you and show you how to.
Mate, you've said that before, and I definitely will do it. Just quickly on Jai Opataya. You mentioned him before. What a fighter he is, and you must be proud. Do you know Jai personally?
Yeah.
Yeah. Proud of what he's doing.
His last fight, he put on a tremendous performance against David Naika, who I thought was going to give him a bit more trouble. But just, David Naika didn't really have the same experience as Jai. And he's, as a Samoan fighter, we're very proud of our Samoan people. Yeah. And it's great to see him do great things on the world stage. Just
quickly going back to, I talked about your popularity. If you was to go to Samoa, how would that be? The island of Samoa. Yeah. Say if you and Jai went back there, would you be mobbed?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
More so than if it was in New Zealand, or?
Yeah, because our Samoan people are very proud people. Like, do you know how to pronounce my name?
No.
Lupe Soli Aila Auli Alabale Toa Joseph Parker. That's my Samoan name.
Do you know when you was at school, did they say that?
No, I only got this, it's a chief name. I only got this name given to me when I became world champion.
Really?
Yeah.
So who gives you that?
People of Samoa. Prime Minister, people of Samoa, they give you this name, and I said I'm going to represent it all around the world. So that's when Michael Buffer says my name in the ring. He always says my.
Why that? Like,
because I'm a High Chief of Samoa.
So is that just the name that they've given you?
My name is, so there's two names.
Do you pick the name, or do they give you the name?
They give you the name from the villages I'm from.
Did it take a while to learn it?
Lupe Soliai Laoli Ole Malia Toa.
Can you spell it?
Yeah, if I have a pen and paper.
Yeah. So you got to basically learn this name they've given you.
Yeah, that's the name I carry with me all around the world.
Wow.
I'm sure Jai will probably get one soon.
Yeah. That's got to be a massively proud moment.
Yeah, both parents born in Samoa.
Wow.
I love my Samoan heritage. I can speak Samoan, which is a great thing. And I'll teach you one. Malo lava.
Malu lava.
Malo lava, yeah.
What's that mean?
It means hello.
Hello.
Yeah, pretty much hello. Hi.
Malu lava.
Malo lava.
Malu lava. Right.
Good.
5 fights. Last question. 5 fights you want to see this year.
5
Off
fights.
the top of the head. Not just you.
Yeah.
You can put yourself in it, but 5 fights you'd like to see for 2025.
All the fights that are on February 22.
Basically,
That's- Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with you there. That's some card.
They were
Well,
talking,
so
about,
look,
they were talking about Canelo and Crawford.
Canelo Crawford.
They were talking about Canelo
Yeah.
and Crawford.
That's a massive fight.
I think that's that fight. Like,
Okay, we put that on Feb 22nd and you've cracked it.
yeah.
Joe, I want to say this has been an absolute privilege. Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone from First Round TV wishes you all the very best in what is a huge fight, a history-making fight. Feb 22nd, the opportunity to be a two-time, look at the smile on his face,
Two-time, yeah.
two-time heavyweight champion of the world.
2 time.
Good luck, mate.
Thank you.